Hi, welcome to part 2 of my talk, India Linguistically. 44.1% of people in India speak Hindi, the national language. 10.4% speak English, the associate national language. And the question that will hang over this part of the talk will be which language will come to dominate India. The fact that only 44.1% of Indians speak Hindi, their national language, is not good. But it's worse than it appears. Hindi is the language of the North. The region seen here in blue is called the Hindi Belt. That's where Hindi is the first language, not so much in the South. There are, of course, political implications. Upon independence, English was reviled as the colonizers' language. As such, a decision was made that English would be thrown out and Hindi, a proper Indian language, would be the national language. This transition was to be completed by 1965. But as 1965 approached, the South went into rebellion. They deemed the imposition of Hindi to be an act of Northern dominance. It would create a glass ceiling. Politicians in the South who did not speak Hindi would not be able to aspire to national office. If civil service exams were given in Hindi, the South would be disadvantaged. To keep English as a national language, there were riots. Hundreds were killed, and people set themselves on fire. Tamil Nadu, the very tip, the south tip of India, said they would secede if English were removed. So, English was retained as an associate national language. Again, language teaching is always already political. If you promote Hindi in the North, you're a patriot. But if you promote Hindi in the South, you're an imperialist colonist out for northern domination and southern oppression. By the way, during my research in Goa, I spoke with one high school principal who admitted that she only spoke and understood enough Hindi to greet people and carry on basic business transactions. She told me that she didn't understand it when politicians, like her nation's president, spoke. A church father told me the same thing. Now, I don't know if these two would be counted as being part of the 44.1% who speak Hindi. But imagine if much of your nation could not understand your president or presidential candidates. Would they be part of the nation? This strains efficiency and unity. There are 22 official languages in India, meaning that each state has a majority language. In each state, the medium of instruction will mostly be the majority language of that state. On the right, you see a 10 rupee bill. It has 15 Indian languages listed on it. There are other bills, the 20, the 50, the 100, 500, they all do the same. How did these 22 languages come about? This is what India looked like when they got independence from the Brits in 1947. But in 1956, under the States Reorganization Act, India's states were redrawn to approximate boundaries of linguistic groups. Thus, the states' boundaries ended up looking like this. So, for example, you'll see that what used to be Madras was divided into Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. In Tamil Nadu, the majority of people speak Tamil, and in Andhra Pradesh, the state language is Konkani. Political leaders understood that if a state had 2 or 3 majority-dominant languages, political tensions would never stop. And of course, having so many languages would strain efficiency as people from different parts of the state would not be able to speak to each other. As such, the very shape of India's states is proof that language teaching is always already political as an integral part of the nationhood project. India has 6,661 mother tongues. Try to imagine that. Korea has 1. I hope your nation only has 1. When each Indian state was redrawn to reflect a linguistic majority, each state still had minority languages, and each language has variations due to caste and region. This 6,661 number, by the way, is very inexact. You'll see numbers as low as the mid-1600s. But having so many languages makes India very inefficient. In fact, the 6,661 number you see and the 10.4% speaking English number above, which is also inexact, both come from the 2001 census, which, as a result of inefficiency, didn't come out until 2009. 200 languages have died out in India in the last 50 years, and 196 more are said to be on the verge of extinction. Note this trend. India is slowly working towards having fewer and fewer languages and better communication. Multiculturalism, on the other hand, tries to increase linguistic diversity in nations. Thus, multiculturalism is running in the opposite direction of India. In fact, it's running against the natural direction of the world, which has fewer and fewer languages. The question for India is, at the end of this language consolidation, which language will dominate, English or Hindi? But in the end, neither language might ever come to dominate, and India and India's states might just fracture along this or other linguistic fault lines. So now we've got a basic handle on India's very complex linguistic landscape and some of the political dynamics of language therein. Next, I want to look at the very contentious 2014 language conflict in the southern state of Goa.